In the Vatican, Catholics are still coming to terms with the death of Pope Francis.
He'll leave a big hole in my life as he'll leave a hole in the church.
It's a great loss for the country, it's a great loss for the world of Christianity.
Thousands of worshippers and the world's press are witnessing the tightly choreographed events that follow the death of a pontiff.
This is a very sad moment. At the same time, it is a great moment in the Catholic Church.
The upcoming conclave, where the successor of Francis will be elected, is already the talk of the city.
We'll let the man rest in peace. The funeral will be on Saturday, and on Monday morning these cardinals will sit down and they will start discussing, and it will be like, so where are you from again? What's your vision of the church for this time?
Many observers saw Pope Francis as a Catholic progressive, someone that looked to bring the church into the 21st century and open up the once closed-off nature of this place. But with his death, some people are now wondering whether his eagerness to modernise the church will continue.
The Catholic Church is a microcosm of the macrocosm that is the world, and we're living in a very divided world right now.
As a journalist working in the Vatican, Sean Patrick Lovett has covered 5 papal deaths.
They've all been different, they've all had a different dynamic to them. This one is special because of who Francis was and what he represents to people. People would say to me, your Pope is cool of a certain age. But of course, older people may go, tut, 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 you know, he's not the Pope we remember. We'd like to go back to a Pope who wore a crown and wore gloves and a throne.
Despite being a controversial figure among some conservative Catholics, Sean Patrick Lovett believes it's still too early to determine whether the cardinals will look to abandon Pope Francis's more contemporary ways.
There are cardinals who are arriving in Rome right now as we speak, coming from Tonga. There's a cardinal coming from Mongolia. There are cardinals coming from places where I really challenge someone to show me on the map where they are. So the field is wide open.
The conclave is intensely secretive. Cardinals are shut off from the outside world while they cast their ballots. A successor is elected only when they receive 2/3 support. Although campaigning to be Pope is forbidden, the horse trading during this process is notorious, and Italian Vatican observer Carmine Soprano is convinced factional politicking will be at play.
When the divisions are this stark, as they're likely to be between progressives and conservatives, it's important to also see how the conclave evolves and to what extent you're able to position yourself as a likely candidate.
And likely candidates come from across the ideological spectrum.
There are 3 Italians that are expected to be quite favoured for the top job, all of whom were close to Francis and to some extent are perceived as progressive. So you have the Archbishop of Budapest, Cardinal Cupich, who was appointed by John Paul II, and who would be sort of a Ratzinger 2.0, if you wish. Very conservative, indeed. Then you have the Archbishop of Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Central Africa, who would be the first African Pope, of course, so in principle a progressive choice, but at the same time he was also the one who led the African opposition to Francis' pro-gay policies. So not exactly a progressive decision, right?
So good to see you.
The geopolitical landscape could also affect the next direction of the church.
Pray for you every day. Bless you.
So if the church wanted to send a bit of a political message, that might go for one of the 2 luckily American popes or a candidate to be a pope, who are the Archbishop of Chicago and the Archbishop of Newark, both of whom were very much in favor of Francis' pro-migration policies and therefore already clashed with the current policies of the sitting US administration.
But the makeup of the conclave has been heavily influenced by the late Pope.
out of the 135 cardinals eligible to vote and be voted as pope, they need to be under the age of 80. About 80%, so 4/5, were appointed by Francis himself.
So if 8 out of 10 of the cardinal electors were created by Francis, I think it's very likely they will follow his style. And more than that, the road that he set out is not one that you can go back on. You can't suddenly say, none of this happened. Huh? Let's go back to a throne and a tall hat.
It's a sentiment echoed by Pope Francis's friend and biographer, Austin Ivory.
I've always been saying through these years that the vision that Pope Francis has put in place, it's not just his vision, it's really the vision of the global church coming from Latin America. It's really the only vision in town. There really isn't another one. This is the church that we need for this age.
His more welcoming approach to marginalised Catholics is something, according to the late Pope's biographer, the church will continue.
It's learning this kind of new way of being that Francis was helping the church to do. And I think they're going to want another pastor who will show us that path.
That will come as welcome news to many of the church's women, who believe Pope Francis was a pope for them.
He has given us a lot of attention, an attention that was not given before.
Sister Mary is a Kenyan doctor, nun and 10-year resident of the Vatican.
Even showing us that we belong to a church, that we are not isolated, and that is beautiful. That love he has shown to us, we are very grateful, and I hope it will continue.
There are 10 American cardinals who will vote in the conclave. The Archbishop of Chicago, Blase Cupich, is one of them. He was closely aligned with the Pope and will soon head to Rome. Cardinal Cupich, welcome to 7:30.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Pope Francis appointed 80% of the electors who will be in the conclave, including you. Does that mean that his inclusive views of the Church are likely to be continued?
Well, I think that he wanted to make sure that as he reached out to the ends of the earth in appointing various cardinals to the college, that people would be, in fact, recognize within the College of Cardinals their own country and their own cultures. And so I think it was more a matter of making sure that there was inclusion in the very important role of selecting a new pope, rather than with any kind of ideology in mind.
Pope Francis wrote to all the American bishops recently criticising the government's policy of mass deportation, telling them not to give in to narratives that discriminate. That's a bold thing to do in the current United States.
Well, I think that he took the occasion to applaud us for doing precisely that. Many of us and Bishops' Conference, the leadership, have in fact pushed back on the policy of mass deportation, but also the way in which immigrants are described in a very derogatory way. I think that it was offensive to all of us, and we took the time to make sure that we speak our mind. I know that raising our voices, I know here in Chicago, does cause people in society some unrest because they think that it's interfering with public policy or getting involved in politics. But our position is based on defending the rights of human beings and human dignity. And so we were grateful that the Holy Father's letter came because it supported what we really wanted to get across to the American government. We want to work with the American government in helping those who are coming to our shores, but also we support the security of our borders and also the prosecution of criminal elements. That there's no disagreement there.
In Australia, the late Cardinal George Pell described Francis's papacy as a catastrophe, and his ideas to bring people to Rome for consultation as a, quote, toxic nightmare. How did those views of Cardinal Pell impact Pope Francis?
Well, first of all, I knew Cardinal Pell very well. I was with him at the Synod of the Family and had a great deal of respect for him, particularly the work that he tried to do with the finances. I think that Pope Francis was not impacted at all by criticism or praise. He was a man who was internally free, and so he could take criticism, but he didn't invite praise either. He was an individual who knew he was comfortable in his own skin, and he knew exactly where he wanted to go.
Pope Francis took over the Catholic Church at a time of cascading revelations about the sexual abuse of children and the meticulous cover-up of those crimes. How do you judge his response?
Well, I know that he admitted himself he had a learning curve, especially after he apologized for his remarks about what was happening in Chile. And then he did change. And I was privileged to be one of the 4 asked to organize the summit in 2019. And I can tell you in those meetings, he wanted to make sure that we got it right. And he wanted suggestions and concrete steps. So, for instance, the documents that came out after that, the Vocesus Lux Mundi, on how we deal with cases where bishops did cover up or, in fact, abused. He took away the notion of the secret so that document could be shared. He also looked for ways in which there could be healing and reconciliation as he met with victims on a regular basis. So he did have a conversion of heart. He admitted that.
Why did he need to have a change to understand something so obviously wrong?
Because I think that part of the problem that we had in the United States as well is that hierarchs, bishops, did not consult with lay people who had the everyday experience of raising children. We didn't have that experience. Yes, you would have thought it was obvious, but I think also society didn't have it because many times law enforcement was involved in the cover-up. Sometimes parents didn't want this to be told. So there had to be a cultural change as well. But it was parents, first of all, who felt the pain, as well as victim survivors, that people were not listening to them. And so I think that when we in the church, or leadership in the church, began to listen and really hear the pain and the agony that people suffered, that's when the change came about.
Pope Francis's funeral comes first, then there's the conclave. It's your first conclave. What are you expecting?
Well, again, I think I'm a neophyte here. This is, I have not done this before. I'm going to listen a lot. I'm also going to do a lot of praying because I think we have to be open to where the Spirit of Christ is moving us at this time and come in there with a great sense of humility that we don't have the answer to this question when we go in there. It's going to emerge, I think, in our discussions in the time that we have. As we're there in front of Michelangelo's Last Judgment, I think we're going to be sobered by the enormous responsibility that we have, and we should take that seriously. So I'm looking at this as an opportunity of a new kind of grace in my life that I have not experienced before.
Cardinal Cupich, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.